Queen made one video that was so beloved in one country, and so damaging in another that it effectively ended their career in the larger of the two. The song was a hit almost everywhere. The video is now considered one of the most famous they ever made. And in the United States, it did something close to career suicide. Brian May watched it happen in real time, on a promotional tour, as the faces of American radio staff turned, in his own word, ashen. The song is I Want to Break Free. It came out in April of 1984. It was written by John Deacon, the quiet one, the same man who had written another One Bites the Dust. It is a straightforward song about wanting out, and it is built on a synth line that lodges in the head immediately. As a piece of music, it was never the problem. Everything that happened next was about 4 minutes of film. To understand the video, you have to understand a British television program called Coronation Street. It is a soap opera. It has been running since 1960. It is set in a working-class street in the north of England, and it is populated by a specific gallery of characters, most famously its middle-aged and elderly women. To a British audience in 1984, Coronation Street was not glamorous or exotic. It was the most ordinary thing on television. Your grandmother watched it. Somebody had the idea to parody it. For decades, most people assumed the idea was Freddie's, because dressing up and being theatrical was exactly the sort of thing he would do. It was not his idea. Roger Taylor has said, plainly, that it came from his girlfriend at the time. Her suggestion was that Queen do a Coronation Street pastiche. Freddie's contribution was the specific escalation. He suggested they do it in drag. So that is what they filmed. All 4 members of Queen dressed as the women of Coronation Street. Freddie in a pink top and a black leather skirt pushing a vacuum cleaner. Roger Taylor as a schoolgirl. Brian May in curlers and a nightgown. John Deacon as an elderly grandmother. To a British viewer, the reference was instant, and the joke was warm. This was a beloved band affectionately sending up a national institution. It is worth being precise about how ordinary the target was. Coronation Street was not edgy television. It was the opposite. It was comfort viewing, watched by tens of millions, the kind of show that had been on so long it was part of the furniture of British life. Parodying it was a gesture of affection, not mockery. It said, "We are one of you, we grew up on this too." Dressing as its most famous women was the warmest possible way to make that joke, because those characters were adored. None of that texture survives a border. A reference that means we love this at home means nothing at all somewhere the show was never broadcast. In Britain, it worked exactly as intended. The song went to number 3. The video was understood immediately because the tradition it came from, men dressing as women for comedy, runs straight through British entertainment. Pantomime, music hall, comedy sketches. It is centuries deep. A British audience did not see a statement. They saw a gag, and a good one. Then the video crossed the Atlantic, into a country with none of that context. America in 1984 had no Coronation Street. It had no pantomime tradition. The specific reference that made the whole thing legible, the thing that told a British viewer this is a comedy, this is affectionate, this is about a soap opera, simply did not exist. What an American viewer saw was Freddie Mercury, in a dress, with a mustache pushing a vacuum cleaner. Without the joke, only the image remained. And the timing could not have been worse. The gatekeeper of American music in 1984 was MTV. If MTV played your video, you existed in America. If it did not, the single died there, no matter how good it was. MTV looked at 4 men in drag and decided it was not something the channel wanted to support. They effectively refused to play it. Understand what that meant mechanically. Queen were not banned by some moral authority. They were quietly dropped by the single most important distribution channel in the largest music market in the world. The song did not get a fair hearing in America. It got almost no hearing at all. It stalled far below where a Queen single of that era should have landed, and the reason was not the song. You have to remember how total MTV's power was in that specific moment. This was before the internet, before streaming, before any way for a song to reach an American audience that did not pass through a small number of gatekeepers. Radio was one, MTV was the other, and for a certain kind of pop rock act, it was the decisive one. A video that MTV embraced could make a career in weeks. Radio Gaga, Queen's previous single, had done exactly that. A video MTV declined to play might as well not exist. There was no second route, no appeal, no audience workaround. So this was not a bad review. It was closer to being unplugged from the wall. Brian May has described the human version of this, and it is the detail that stays with you. He was on a promotional tour through the American Midwest when the video was circulating, and he watched people's faces, radio programmers and industry people, turn ashen as they realized what Queen had done. Not amused, not scandalized in an exciting way, just cold, quiet, mortified retreat. These were people deciding in real time that this band was now a problem. The musician Fred Mandel, who played synthesizer on the track, put it simply afterwards. "It is a very British kind of humor," he said, and he did not think it went over too well in the States. That is the whole disaster compressed into one sentence. Not a scandal, not a crime. A joke that did not translate in a market that could not take it. Roger Taylor's response to all this was less diplomatic, and he stayed angry about it for years. He called MTV a very narrow-minded station. He asked, essentially, what their problem was, whether they genuinely thought that men dressing up in drag was not rock and roll enough for them. It is a fair question from a man in a band that had spent a decade being theatrical, but being right did not help. The market had already decided. Here is the part that is genuinely strange in hindsight. This was Queen, the band fronted by the most flamboyant performer in rock, a man whose entire stage identity was built on theatricality, sequins, leotards, and outright camp. Freddie Mercury in a dress should have been the least surprising thing in music. And yet the specific form of it, domestic, suburban, a housewife with a vacuum cleaner rather than a rock god in a costume, was the thing America could not process. The consequences were not short-term. The usual telling is that Queen simply had a down period in America in the mid-'80s. The more specific truth is that this video is widely regarded as the moment their foothold in American pop culture broke, and it did not really recover. They would not have another major American cultural moment until Live Aid the following year, and even that was a live performance, not a record. The American record-buying relationship never fully came back in Freddie's lifetime. There is a genuine irony sitting underneath all of it. The song is called "I Want to Break Free." It is about escape, about refusing to be contained, about walking away from something that no longer fits. And the video for it, the joyful, silly, deliberately unmacho video, did exactly that. It broke Queen free of America, whether they wanted it to or not. The most successful escape in the song's history was the one nobody intended. There is a broader lesson in this that goes beyond one band. Comedy is the least portable thing a culture produces. A drama can cross borders, a love song can cross borders, a guitar solo needs no translation at all. A joke needs the audience to already share a reference, and the moment they do not, it does not just fall flat. It curdles into something unintended. Queen had made things that traveled effortlessly. Bohemian Rhapsody needed no explanation anywhere on earth. But I Want to Break Free was not really a song that failed to travel. It was a joke that failed to travel, wearing a song as a disguise. The final irony is what happened to the video itself. It was a commercial catastrophe in America, and it is now considered a classic. It is studied, celebrated, endlessly referenced. The thing that damaged them most in one decade became one of the most loved things they ever made in the next. Freddie in that pink top with the vacuum cleaner is now an icon. In 1984, in America, it was the image that quietly closed a door. Both the video's brilliance and its cost come from the same fact. It was completely, unapologetically British. A joke about a soap opera your grandmother watched, performed by the biggest band in the world in dresses, understood instantly at home and not at all abroad. It was never trying to be careful. And that is exactly why it worked in one place and detonated in another. Queen did not misjudge the video at all. They made precisely the video they meant to make, exactly as they intended it. They simply made it for one audience, and then showed it to another that was never going to understand it.